So the financing on this property, we've asked the seller of the property to participate in the financing. And what I mean by that is, instead, here they have a problem. Let's talk about their problem a little bit. Let's if we're going to understand their point of view, let's also understand their problem.
So they have a bankruptcy problem, right?
Right. So what they have on this building is that, what did we figure, 10, 11, 12 years ago, that they started to build and rehab this building. Mm-hmm. And they got it to a certain point. I don't think it was the owner of the property. I think it was the previous owner of the property. Okay, so the previous buyer of the property, in a bad economy, tried to build a building on here and probably couldn't find contractors at the time when it was going really well. That was right before they quit. They probably couldn't find contractors and were over budget on this project.
Right.
So when the economy's going great, it's hard to find those contractors to come in and do the work that is reasonable in price. Okay? So then real estate falls off the edge of the earth all over the country. And I'm sure they were looking at the building and saying, everything out there is vacant. We don't know the value, and so therefore we can't borrow against the value of this property to finish it. So they walk away, and the sellers own this.
Yes.
Okay? Now they sit on it for 12 years. Okay? So that's a problem because they've got a mortgage on it, and they have taxes to pay on the property, and all of those things need to be paid during the time. And they find themselves in a situation where the amount of debt that's against it is more than their revenue. They have zero revenue on the building right now.
Yeah, there's nothing happening.
So they file for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Now, Chapter 11, what that is that's a reorganization bankruptcy. They're not trying to get rid of any debt.
Oh.
Okay? They're not trying to cancel any debt. What they're hoping to do is to place the creditors in such a position that they can't take the building away from the church. And they come in and they organize a plan. And then they go out because the building value, along with this other property, is worth more than their debt.
Okay.
So what they're trying to do is place a plan together that's approved by a judge in a bankruptcy court. And then they're going to take this property out and they're going to put it on the market and they're going to list it. And they're going to sell that property. And with the sale of that, they'll take care of all their creditors. They just didn't want the creditors to come in and take it away from them along with all the equity that they had in the property. Because that's the risk as a property owner. If you don't pay the mortgage, they take the house from you and sell it off, and you may or may not get any money out of that sale.
Right, so they're trying to get something out of it.
They're trying to salvage something. So, okay. It's important to understand this as the buyer, because if we can understand the seller's positions, we can fix the problems and we can write an offer and structure an offer that's going to be valid and useful for them. Okay. Now, what they're concerned with is you're coming into the property and you have a business that you are going to occupy it. So how viable is that business? Will you be able to pay the payments so that they don't end up in the same position?
Right. And you structured I don't want to say a deal, but some thought about how for a year we would be able to take care of that and grow at the same time, especially being a business that's coming, it's growing even more. It's already grown, but there's some new areas that need more growth. And in order for these new areas to grow even bigger than ever, we need that space.
Right. Okay, so in the discussion with you on this property, I went and looked at the equity in each of the properties. I shouldn't say equity. I looked at the value of what I could assess in a reasonable fashion. Meaning, I went and looked at the tax assessed values. I went in and looked at comparable sales statistics on the properties as compared to other sales, things of that nature. We went out to the property and we looked. And I didn't fine-tooth comb our inspection because the lights were out in the building. Someone had vandalized the building, so some of the wiring and things was gone. And so we're looking at this building, and but I'm looking and saying, okay, what percentage completion is this building? What is the likelihood it's going to be more of a problem than you can deal with when coming in?
Yes.
And I was pleasantly surprised to see the condition of it. And I can understand when I'm looking at the property, I can understand the seller's concerns with the property, but also the amount of money they have to put into the property is generally more than they might keep on reserves themselves.
Exactly.
Okay?
So to put more money into the property when you're already facing bankruptcy and you already have a mortgage, you're paying out on something you can't even use.
Right.
How do we get rid of it?
And here's the other problem. When not only do you potentially don't have the money to put into it just in your checking account.
No.
Prior to, but even the seller of it, here they own a building that's worth a lot more than what they owe. Okay? They have the ability to go out and borrow against that building an amount of money so they can finish it, so they can rent it or sell it or do all of the things that would provide an income. But since they waited a long period of time and now they're in bankruptcy, now it's not their decision anymore. It's the judge's decision.
To sell the property.
Right.
Oh.
When they enter bankruptcy like that, they develop a plan. And the plan involves the creditors that are currently on the building as well as the judge. And the judge looks at the plan that they come up with. Now, the plan could have been, okay, judge, we're going to go out and we're going to borrow this new amount of money to put into the property. And that should raise its value and raise its marketability and all of the rest of the things. That might have been the plan. But their plan was stop the creditors from taking it from us. Stop the taxes that are currently on it. They have to be paid, but just don't allow them to take it from us. Enter into the bankruptcy, because what we have in this is a seller by committee.
Okay.
This is a business that owns this in any way, shape, or form. It's a business, and it doesn't sound like one individual is the decision maker.
No, there's a couple.
We have a decision by committee.
Yes.
Okay? And they all have their point of view.
And they all have a piece of it, apparently, as well.
Well, and I could see that. I could see that there are different pieces
investors.
Of it. They may have put more money into it themselves. Maybe some of them came up. I don't know. That's something that we have to investigate if we want to make an intelligent offer on this.
Yes.
Okay? But we have a link between the sellers and yourself as the buyer or your company, and that is the real estate agent. Okay? And so we went out there and met that real estate agent, and I thought that she was professional. I thought she was prepared.
Yes.
I thought all of those things that she did were in the seller's best interest to sell this building. And now we make an offer. It's not too confusing, right?
No.
Because, I mean, with very limited real estate background, you understand the offer. And this is a professional that's selling commercial real estate. Now, one of the things you're going to have to get used to is that just because you have a real estate license doesn't mean you have the experience in all the different areas.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, you have to experience a lot in real estate in order to gain experience.
Yes.
So, so we need to have the real estate agent understand the process. And one of the things that we were able to do was be able to get you pre-qualified for a mortgage that was substantial, $600,000, wasn't it? $650,000. So
yeah,
there we go.
Oh, wow.
You didn't turn in, and the reason that you were able to get that is because of the value of the property. Now
so the loan is on the property, not on me.
Right. Its largest consideration is against the property. Okay. This is, as going back to our previous podcast, this is having something worth $100 that, no, it's okay. This is having something worth $100, and you only want to borrow $60 against it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's about that loan to value. And so that's why they're able to look at this and they're able to qualify you under this program, is because, hey, the value of the property is such. This is why you don't have to have money in the bank. This
Right.
is why we can structure a transaction that allows you to buy it, allows you to fix it, and allows you capital in your account in order to pay for it while it's vacant, while it's being fixed, all of those different things. It all wraps into it. And that's
So that's all in that deal.
that's all in that purchase and sale. It's how that was structured.
Mm-hmm.
And it just comes out in a few lines that says, okay, I'll give you this much against this property and I'll give you this much against this property. Okay?